So what's up? How you doing today? We're going to take a look at some improv tactics for the jam on Harry Hood. And these tactics are things to take your improvisations kind of to another level. So you got things that are really going to help build up your solos. And I broke it down to 3 parts to keep it simple. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play examples doing these things and then kind of break down what's going on. And at the end, I'm going to practice backing track in a link and in the description down below that you can try this stuff out yourself. So let's give the first example a listen to, and I want you to just observe before I even say anything what's going on. Just kind of give it a listen, kind of take it in, kind of notice what you think is going on, and then we'll talk about it. So let's check it out. So, first off, the main improv tactic with this song, with this jam, I call it waves. And it can sometimes deviate from it, but very typically they would do it. I've listened to a lot of versions, and it starts slow, starts not slow, but really, really mellow, and the intensity builds up and then comes back down and goes again. And often it might, with waves in general, it goes up, second wave goes a little higher, third wave a little higher. But it doesn't always have to. It could go up, and then it could go way down, and then way back up, things like that. And that's where we want to start off really clean. Maybe it doesn't have to be clean, but at least your cleaner sound, so that we have room to grow for intensity from a tone standpoint. So what is going on musically? But it's in the key of D. So D major scale works pretty much throughout the whole thing, really. Sometimes they might pull out of that, but this is one where often they stay right within D. And the chords are D, A, and G. Sometimes D and G, sometimes just D. At the end, when the singing comes in and typically kind of starts jamming out, that kind of double time rock beat hitting the D, A, G. But it can be floating around. So sometimes Paige is playing some chords, Mike's kind of pedaling more on a D or just around a D. And that's what gives it that push-pull kind of, so don't worry about too much what's going on with the chords. We're going to focus more just around the D scale. So what, he often does is he starts off, Trey just starts off kind of playing his rhythms just on a D. Doesn't always, but often does it, I've heard. And then once he kind of gets that tension going for long enough, kind of opens up, leaves a lot of space, really focuses on some rhythms and some space there, just kind of maybe some arpeggios. I think I did one in the example like this. Plays that little sus note. We're gonna get more into that later. And that's it. So the thing with the first part is you want to really be thinking about you're starting off the wave. So start down. Start exploring too. It's kind of just exploring around the notes, listening to everybody else, and then we're gonna build it with some tactics later to build that tension and get that wave starting to go. So let's listen to that now. Number 2, make some observations, and we'll talk about some tactics that I'm using here. So here we are now a little dirty, so I throw on just one of my distortion pedals here, and it's now really using that thing called a pedal, where you're just playing the note of the key here, and for this particular pedal case, so a D, and it's playing, he's outlining a D power chord, so it's D, A, D, and A, so it's a D5 chord, big one here. And even though those other notes, though those A's are in there, it's still kind of overall a pedal, right? Kind of playing this, just picking around there. So again, this is actually I think from the Alive One version that I listened to. I got this idea from him. This dude is exact thing it sounds like, but every version's gonna be a little different. But this idea and different ways of doing this, and this idea of a pedal and just hanging on that D is always gonna work to help build that first crest or any of the crests of the waves. So get that going, right? And then you could do, I was doing this, I was kind of still hitting this open D, but then starting to hit the scale, just stuff on the major scale, hitting that sus note again, which is a G. Talk more about that. Like when you're playing a D, a lot of you might know this right there. And you want to know that, you know, that's G, F sharp, a 4 to 3 in terms of the scale degrees. And know them in different places. So you could be, and that helps kind of open it up a little more, but it's still building, opening, and kind of like it's getting like the waves about to start to crash, you know. And that's a good way of just building up the tension. So just pedaling on just the note, D, power chord, you know, throwing again a little bit of distortion, start picking it a little harder, and maybe opening up with the scale with the pedal still going, and that'll really build that tension rather than just continuing to, you know, play the scale. You know, certainly we can build it with that too, but this is one tactic that'll really make it work for you every time. So let's look at the third one, and we'll close it up by breaking it down and seeing what's going on. So here, we want to play a little higher because we want to be really climaxing the jam here, right? And something he does a lot, just in general, he'll take, you know, he'll outline the chords here. So he's got that D chord up here, and he just playing that arpeggio, and then really stressing that sus more. And that gives it that real kind of lift, that sus chord, when you're playing in a lot of different situations, but especially a major one. And there's some tremolo picking. Hits this A a lot, so it gets way up there. Right? And then, you know, also again, getting up to your high point. You know, so one thing I always like to think of is like, where am I going to end my jam so I don't end up, you know, falling flat on my face? I know maybe, okay, I'm going to end in this high D. So I'm getting way up there. And he does that. Maybe even bends it up for a second, but really stressing that note D. So you're bending up, it's like an E, but then stressing that D right there. And just really knowing your scale. But this is like a, you know, territory you don't know. Start to really get to know all these notes up here. And then when it gets back into this, the one thing that does often happen is they'll get back into the part where they're singing, and that's back into the D, A, G. But sometimes he's just kind of still playing just a D, just pedals on it while the band is playing those notes. While Mike and Paige are doing it, and it could be just a D. I think the example I was doing octave, just this D and D here, and then I slid up, and then slid up to a high D, and little classic Trey thing, hit that hard and slide it right down, and then that's it. But he doesn't always do that. Sometimes it just kind of like slows down, stops. Could be anything, you know. But that's it. So that main thing for the third one is to know where you're going to climax it. That high, literally just know that exact high point on the fretboard that you want to take it to. It doesn't have to be that deep, but that's a good one. And try out arpeggios in different places and some sus notes. So really get that G in there. and some tremolo picking, big bands and stuff, and that'll really help take it over the top, you know, so you're not just playing down, ending it down here or something, but make sure you know you're up there. But anyways, I've stressed that enough. I hope that helps, and if you want to try it out yourself, try it with the backing track over here. I'll put it in the link description down below that you can just try out all these ideas, and I hope that takes it to another level for you. And I'll see you in the next video.